This thing on? I forgot how to work this thing. Oh yeah, it's on. What is going on, guys? Welcome back. I got Apollo standing right behind me, but before we get into today's video, I have to thank you guys so much. Y'all absolutely crushed the last video. Yeah, you guys absolutely love that freaking content. If you guys missed it, if you're new here, you're tapping in because you want to know how to build your Mustang NA into a 1010 car. I'm going to give you all the details, what I did, and I'm going to show you everything I did, but here's a little clip of the last video that we just did, and you guys absolutely freaking loved it. Here's a clip. Uh-oh. That thing fast? Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Don't click out of this video just yet. I'm gonna put a card at the end of this video. So once you're done watching this, after seeing how to build your Mustang into a 1010 car, you could just watch that one. And we went to Tijuana and we got that shit on. Death Trap. This is my little mini bike, doing a full build series. Tops out at 35 miles an hour. We're gonna get this thing to top out at 70 with a little bit of nitrous today. All right, I lied. We're not topping the mini bike out with nitrous today. I just wanted to ride it. Breeze felt on point and I just got on it. I was vibing. I was like, you know what, let me just take it for a quick stroll. But yeah, we're actually gonna be doing a full build on the mini bike. Name is Death Trap. I just got done building the past few days. I've been working on it little by little. I built a mini bike track in my backyard through the woods, freaking sick. But I just had to tell you guys that because we're gonna be racing mini bikes in my backyard. Chuck's gonna get one, Derek's gonna get one. We're gonna get Brandon's little chubby ass on one. Like, it's gonna be a full absolute send of mini bikes, and we gotta soup mine up before they get theirs because we absolutely have to gap the shit out of them because, you know, on this channel we cannot lose. I hate losing. That's just, I'll race, but I hate losing. Time to cold start this thing. Come on, Apollo. Wakey, wakey. The boys want to know what we got done to her. Cold start. Not that crazy aggressive. On the initial hit, it was a normal mode, but now it's fully open in track mode. You guys can get a better look. You guys like my exhaust setup. We're gonna get into everything in full details of my cat back, the header setup, the full 9. So let's get this thing warmed up and pulled out, and we'll talk about every little thing we got going on. Holy, Apollo looks mean as crap sitting in the garage. Coleman. So Apollo is by far one of the favorite cars I have ever owned in my entire life. And most of you guys might be thinking, well, Jake, it is just the regular Mustang GT. And yes, it is just that simple. I don't really need nothing fancy or nothing super crazy to make me happy. And to be real with y'all, this is one of the best cars I've ever had in my entire life. Straight up. So first off, I'm going to say let's start up with the exhaust setup on this car because I freaking love it. It hurts a lot of people's ears when we are actually racing this thing, and we do have a few more races lined up. 700 horsepower CTSV wants the smoke from Apollo. We're going to try that. Might get our ass kicked because those things are nasty. And then I think there's 2 CTSVs I actually want to try. Super cool guys. Talked to them a little bit today, and they're down for some fun runs. So we got that locked in. Like I said, we're going to be racing this car to its full potential and seeing what we can hang with because I still think the 10-speed is the king of the streets in my opinion. But let's get on the exhaust setup. Front to back, we are running a Corsa Extreme catback. As you can see right there, it is a little dirty. This thing gets used and abused. Honestly, the only time this car ever comes out is for racing. I really don't even drive this thing for like pleasure anymore, quote unquote. Let's just say I don't really take this car for a cruise. This is the car I take for a cruise. Absolutely love the freaking Dark Horse. But other than that, Apollo is straight race. Like I said before, we'll eventually be going twin turbos. So this summer, if you want to catch a lane with Apollo for fun, and you want to see if you can hang with it, NA, you guys are more than welcome. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's ItalianSign410. More than happy to race to the track, Tijuana, or wherever the case may be. I just always down for some good racing and some good fun. But like I said, for the exhaust setup, we are rocking Corsa Extreme, double X pipe, and we are rocking some of the best headers in the market. And everyone knows you got to go with Cooks. Cooks is the only way to go for Mustangs. All my vehicles have Cooks. Cooks, Cooks, and Cooks. Dark Horse even has cooks. Dark Horse picked up 33 to the wheels, which is insane power. S650s are on their own little train right now, but once that ECU gets unlocked, we're doing max effort NA with that too. So I just had to flip Apollo around a little bit because the sun was going crazy and I would have blinded y'all. So I wanted to give you guys a quick little rundown of the car, give you a walk around and show you guys everything. And just like we talked about, the exhaust setup, cooks, X-Pipe, Corsa Extreme Active. Over on the front, we have Hoosiers with a good set of weld wheels. I do have a little upgraded of a brake, and it's a little lighter, but I still had to keep my factory Brumbos and stuff because this is a magnetic ride car. We couldn't really lose any of that, so I was like, you know what? And I don't want to do lightweight brakes. I did, but then we were going to run into all the problems with magnetic ride and have to make so many custom brackets. At the end of the day, it really wasn't worth it, and I do like bigger brakes on the car. I think it just looks so much better. So I said, you know what? We're staying Brumbos. We might do carbon ceramics in the near future once we go twin turbo. And yeah, these are staying at the moment, but that's what we're rocking. On the rear, we are also on the stock brakes, just obviously slotted with Hoosiers and obviously a beautiful weld bead-lock. And you guys, why do you have bead-locks on NA car? Because I like it. It looks freaking sick. Over onto the back of the car, as you can see what most people see, it says Apollo in big bold letters. Carbon fiber, duckbill trunk, freaking beautiful. Absolutely love this thing. Fitment is a little it's not the best, but, and then you have to deal with also this wiring on it and everything is kind of whack. And we did take a little bit of stuff out the back. So I did take out my speaker because I don't really drive the car like that. Gonna end up getting that sold. Another guy wants that. And we did add a little more weight. We put sound deadening because once we go twin turbo on this thing, we will probably be doing dumps right underneath the car and it is going to be retarded loud. And lastly, on the walk around, let me show y'all the interior. So over on the back, we made a custom, and actually when I say we, I came up with the idea of wanting a drag pack to fit in the back of my car, and Revolution Automotive, best shop in the DMV, they were like, you know what, we have an idea, we can make you kind of like a chassis style like rally rack that they run on like the Raptors, and it fits my whole drag pack on road trips in the back of the car, which is pretty sick. And if you want them to make them one, hit them up in the DMV and they can make you one, and it fits perfectly all in the factory holes for the bolts and the straps. Perfect. I've used this thing multiple times. I think it looks even sick in the car, so I leave it in there, and which is extra weight. So, and it's light. It's actually really light and it works freaking perfect. I love it. Like I said, passenger seat is out, rear seat delete, and then over in the front we are rocking a Shelby GT500 Recaro in the car, which looks sick. We're gonna do a little custom. We're gonna remove the snake, and we'll be using the other Recaro for a racing sim that I am building. And yeah, the owner of the new my GT500 Zeus, he didn't want the Recaros, so I gave him my premium heated and cooled, and yeah, we're keeping them. Now, onto the engine. So underneath the hood, it looks like a pretty simple setup, nothing substantially crazy. This is a custom intake by Revolution Automotive. You guys want to hit them up on Facebook, they will also make you one of these. Custom intake, so it fits, so you don't have to have that ugly tilted coolant tank reservoir sitting off on the side. I see a lot of NA guys have like stuff like sitting all cockeyed. Simple JLT catch cam, which everyone runs. This is a old school Ford Performance Racing Cobra Jet, or whatever how I said it's just the old Cobra Jet. I don't even know why I said Ford Performance. And we are also running a VMP monoblade. This is custom, and then we are using the JLT intake box, which actually fits it and runs the air right down over here. Everyone always says, Jake, why don't you run the Steeda one? Why don't you run the PMAS one? Because it sits right at the bottom. I don't know. This has always worked. It's always been good to me, and we got my best pass, which is 10.8 at 126 miles an hour. I think it was, but the best mile an hour we got in the quarter was 130 miles an hour. And like I said, guys, this car is heavy. Without me in the car, it was 3850. A lot of NA guys, they're down to like 3,400 pounds. And if you guys know racing, 100 pounds is a tenth in the quarter mile. Every 100 pounds you get off this car is a tenth. So by going 10.8 at the car, the weight it sits at, which was probably like 4,000 pounds with me in it, driving with the gas and everything, right at half a tank. Yeah, if we took out another 400 pounds, 500 pounds, and we went 10.8, this car would be a 10.3 car on motor. But I don't really want to do that to the car. I don't want to do the crash bars. I don't want to do the K-member. I don't really want it to look super gutted. I want it to stay structurally sound. You do those K-members and you get in an accident, God forbid, guys, this car is going to crumble. It is not made to take an impact with that type of K-member. It's very light. So yeah, I said, you know what? We're going to keep this car somewhat heavy. I'd rather keep it heavy because once we add so much power, it's probably going to be a absolute menace on the street to like handle and put the power down. So I said, you know what? We'll keep it a little heavy. that big girl over there, that GTR, is weighing probably well over 4,000 pounds, and sitting at 1,700 horsepower, it is a handful to keep on the street, even with Motec. So I was like, you know what, we'll keep this thing a little heavy, and then once we dial it in with the twin turbos, maybe we'll start shedding some weight off it eventually. I wanted to mention the VMP monoblade. Not many people run it. It is a very, very hard throttle body to tune. I've had shops hit me up. I've had so many people hit me up and ask me who tunes the car, and like I said, it is tuned by Revolution Automotive, and there's really no lightweight stuff done in the car. Like, look, I still have the factory battery. I could do that. That's like a 30-40 pound difference if you do the super lightweight one, but the lightweight one's like 900 pounds, so that's actually insane. Obviously, you can see down there, factory cam member, or you could be looking straight at the ground if I didn't. And over for the pulleys. So you guys might be wondering, Jake, what else did you do to the engine? Engine is opened up. We did oil pump gears. I didn't do cams. I didn't port the heads. Porting the heads are about 3,000. I think that's a little too much. At first, I really wanted to chase like a very, very fast NA number, but seeing the pricing of cams, porting the heads, that's probably like $6,000, probably plus labor. You're looking probably close, I want to say all said and done, after seals, everything, hardware. To do heads and cam, if you're getting a shop to do it, you're probably going to spend close to like $8,000 to $9,000. I'm roughly estimating. It is a lot of work, a lot of stuff to come off the car, and would it really be worth it for an extra like 25, 30 horsepower? To me, it's not. At that point, I'd rather spend the money on a fuel system, twin turbos. So I want to show you guys pretty much how I got my car 10.8 as pretty much full. I want to say full weight. Like, I legit want to say full weight. Honestly, full weight, because if you get a base car, the base cars are a lot lighter than these. They're about 200 pounds lighter, and we tested that with my buddy Chuck's car, and yeah, they're a big difference in weight. But like I was saying with the pulleys, you guys can see right down in there, for the water pump pulley, we went with the Steeda one. As you can see, the one with the holes in it right along yonder. And then at the bottom, for the balancer, you can see a little further down, right there. That is a Innovators West balancer on the car, and you guys might be wondering, all right, Jake, so why did you really do all those? What was the point of doing that? When it comes to NA stuff, you want every little inch you can get with these cars, and that all that stuff is rotating mass. And you guys might be wondering, what is rotating mass? It's stuff that spins is rotating mass. Like, for example, like that's considered rotating mass. The wheels are rotating mass. Like literally the drive shaft's rotating mass. Like, there's so much stuff that's rotating and spinning, and if you can make it spin faster and the stuff it's spinning is a lot lighter, it's a lot less drag on everything. So the car's obviously gonna make more power, it's gonna rev out better. Those are some little tips and stuff you can do, and that stuff isn't really crazy expensive, but it does help, drops weight, helps the car rev a lot better, and yeah, that's why 10 speed's king, that's why Apollo's a beast, and that's why I freaking love this car. So one of the other pieces we did for rotating mass that I would have to get under the car and show you guys would be my QA1, I think it's called. Oh, freaking bug, almost ate that thing. QA1 carbon fiber drive shaft we got going on underneath the car. I want to say, don't quote me on this, I want to say it was about like 15 to 20 pounds rotating mass wise for the drive shaft. Obviously the drive shaft is stronger, it's better, you're racing instead of the two-piece, because that's all the Mustangs come with, is a factory big heavy ass two-piece drive shaft. So carbon fiber one is the better one to go with. They're like $1,000 I think when I got mine. It wasn't crazy, but I've been racing this thing forever. I daily drove the car with it for a while. Really didn't have no problems with it. A lot of people say you can't daily drive with it. I feel like it all just depends where you live. I road tripped this thing to Florida and back with a carbon fiber drive shaft. Knock on some freaking wood. We didn't have any problems with cracking it or breaking anything. Obviously, when I put on the lift every now and then, I do a full inspection of it. I try to rotate it just to get a good look at everything, make sure there's no cracks, hairline fractures, or anything like that going on. So that's always one thing you want to keep in mind when you're running anything really carbon fiber wise, because once that thing cracks, the whole structure integrity is compromised, and that thing could be catastrophic and blow out. And the other reason why I went carbon fiber over aluminum, you guys might be wondering, oh Jake, you could have just went aluminum, it's cheaper, it's pretty much the same. The reason I don't want to go aluminum and I'd rather go carbon fiber, granted I'm racing this car a lot, like a lot, and if God forbid the drive shaft explodes or snaps or anything and it hits the ground, carbon fiber is just going to crumble once it breaks. That aluminum, once that thing snaps or twists or bends, whatever happens to it, or it breaks off, that thing hits the ground. Let's just say you're doing over 100 miles an hour. You just hit the ejecto catapult button. I don't even know what's going to happen. or whichever way it breaks, I've seen some pretty disastrous stuff happen. It could beat up the oil underneath the car. It could possibly flip you if it catches a groove in the road. There's just a million endless possibilities of things that can actually happen to the car or yourself, or God forbid wrecking. So that's why another reason I went carbon fiber. One thing to mention about the balancers when I was talking about them, when we did that, we were literally right there at the front of the motor. We had to take all the accessories, all that stuff off to get everything redone. And you know what you might as well always do? You might as well just do your oil pump gears because you are right there. So we went ahead and took care of that on Apollo also. Oil pump gears are complete, which it's going to save you money in the long run, because if you just do the balancers and stuff and then you're like, oh, I want to go do oil pump gears later down the road, you got to retake everything you just put back on, back off to get to your oil pump gears. So just to keep that in mind, when you do the other stuff, you might as well just do that. You're already there. If you don't have the money, just wait a couple extra months, save up, just get it done. It's going to save you more money in the long run. But that's a little thing I wanted to tell you guys about that, just to keep that in mind, to save you guys even more money. And also the lower motor mounts, I totally forgot to mention this. You have to run lower motor mounts on a Cobra Jet setup, or it's just going to be a little funky, or you're going to have to run a different hood. But for my NA guys, and you want to talk about weight, the stock hood is one of the lightest hoods. We did do some weighing on some carbon fiber hoods because I really wanted the carbon fiber GT350 style hood on this car to complement the carbon fiber Anderson trunk, and I was like, that is it, I want that. But the carbon fiber Anderson one is heavier than the stock hood, so I said, you know what, stock hood is staying. And as you see, we cut out a pretty good bit, and yeah, you can see how it like will fit up in there, and it is super nice. I freaking love this car on motor. It is so much fun to drive. But when I did the lower motor mounts, I really, in my mind, I was like, it's really kind of like, oh, I was thinking it's just for the Cobra Jet, and then I was doing more and more research and listening to like road race guys and drag race guys actually talk about lowering the motor. You got to think, you're going to change the whole center of gravity of this car, and what I mean by that, you're taking a 500-pound engine, let's just say 500 pounds the Coyote is, oil, everything, all the fluids, everything in it, you are lowering that thing 2.5, whatever, 3 inches it was, because you guys can see the gap in the back there now. Like, that is literally a full fist right up in that gap, and it definitely opened it up a lot. I'm gonna say a lot, and I wanted to mention that, like, because it is a huge difference. The center of gravity of the car changes. It makes the whole handling dynamics of the car so much better, and I'm gonna get some for the Dark Horse too. We're gonna get that done because I want to turn this thing into an absolute handling machine. It already is there, but I want to do it up even better than Ford did. So Dark Horse will be getting those also, because I know how it feels. And when I did this, the car wasn't really crazy. We were still on the stock performance pack wheels, and when we did that, it handled like it felt like a totally different car. Like, I'm like, this is how the car should have came from the factory. Next thing you guys will be wondering about is the suspension on this car. Has anything changed wise? So I gotta tell you guys this car does sit lower than a lot of other Mustangs you guys will see, and you might be wondering why would it sit lower than all the other ones? This is a factory performance pack 1 car, so it comes upgraded from the factory, and also this is a magnetic ride car, so this is a kind of a very rare combination. Not too many cars have this magnetic ride for a GT. Obviously GT350s do, GT500s, Dark Horses, Raptor has magnetic ride, a lot of new stuff has magnetic ride. But at the time when I wanted this car, some guy with the GT350 set the stock suspension magnetic ride world record, and I think he was like a very high 7-second pass, or it was a very low 8-second pass. It was like, it was crazy fast. But I was like, after that, and I actually drove another car with magnetic ride, which was my C8 Corvette. When I had that, I fell in love with it. The magnetic ride is just a beyond smart suspension, and if you guys don't know what that is, it is a like gel that is in the shock that magnetizes, obviously, get it, magnetic ride. So when you want to stiffen it up, like there's a magnet or something, I don't know how it really works, but it magnetizes it, and it will slow the movement up of the gel, because there's like thousands and thousands of little metal particles in the gel, and it will slow up the travel rate, I guess. At high speeds, it'll stiffen it up. Like, it adapts and changes within 1,000 of a second. So like, when you really, like, you see a normal car going down the road, right, and you hit a bump, you'll see the car bounce in like this until it settles, until the suspension is like, okay, good. You can watch this car hit a bump, this car hit a bump, that hit a bump, this hit a bump. Magnetic ride is pretty much preset as like where the car is. So if I hit a bump, the only thing that's going to move is the tire's going to go boop boop, but the whole body's going to stay the same. Everything is going to stay exactly the same, which is obviously better for you at high speed, handling, cornering. It's just all around better performance, and that is why I chose Magnetic Ride. It was the last one possibly I could ever find in the whole United States for sale for 2020, and it was about 2.5 hours away in Virginia, and that is where I got Apollo. So otherwise, for suspension, we can talk about the bushings, and I was going to say we can go over and I can show you all the bushings and stuff on the Shelby. So only thing we really did was the vertical links and the cradle lockouts and the bushings. I'm going to take you over to the GT500 and show you exactly what we're talking about underneath this thing. I got this thing cleaned up for the new owner. We put the new exhaust setup on it. Sounds freaking insane. But right over here, so the Shelby suspension is set up a little different. This would pretty much be your vertical link, that little tiny little silver thing right there. But on the GTs, it's a lot bigger, and I'm going to show you the stock one in a second. No joke, we have my vertical links for my 2020 GT, and I have Colin's vertical links. So this is literally how thin the vertical links come. They are junk, absolute junk. The new ones are about probably, I don't know, 6-7 times the thickness, a lot better, a lot more firmer, and there's no rubber bushings or stuff like that, because obviously you can see here, that's a lot of play. You're going to just get a lot of play. Eventually all this rubber stuff is going to crack, and this is pretty much the same concept for the bushings in the rear, and I'll show you guys that what I'm talking about. So you got to think the bolt will go through this hole right here, hold it for the suspension. Over time, there's going to be so much play because obviously the rubber is going to get dry rotted. It's going to crack. It's already cracking up, and this thing was literally off the car within probably, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe 100 miles at max. But this is literally the stock ones, and obviously for the rear, it is the same stuff to go with it. So you can see Shelby's a lot tighter, but the bushing bolts are right there, and that you can see the back end of that head of that bolt, the nut or whatever you want to call it, goes in there, and the bolt sits right in that hole. So for reference, it will sit up there like that with the bolt through it, and as the rear cradle of the car is moving, the whole IRS in the rear, that bolt is in there and it's just getting bounced around. So change those bushings out. We put urethane bushings in Apollo, which stiffen up the rear, made it a lot more planted. Also, you can see the cradle lockouts right there on the Shelby GT500 that the previous owner put. I did not put them, and shout out Mike, he put those in. Last but not least, for your suspension wise, I talked about the vertical links, I've talked about the cradle lockouts, I talked about the bushings. And for your axle, well, suspension, axle, same stuff, I'm going to consider it because it's all in the rear end. But anyway, you can literally, if you're balling on a budget, I wasn't trying to spend $1,500 or whatever it is, $1,000 for like crazy high horsepower axles. Eventually I will, or maybe we'll just send these until something breaks. But you can literally go to your local Ford dealer. I think it was like $300 or $400. You can get a GT350, and only you need one axle. And you guys might be wondering, why do you only need one axle? So pretty much from Ford, I don't know why I think it's for like drivability, I'm gonna say, or like sound, road noise or something. But for real, like, to be 100% with you guys, I didn't really notice any difference from the GT350 to my stock axle. I literally have the stock axle in the shed. I could really show you, but we ain't gonna do all that because you guys know what an axle looks like. So yeah, I just went to my local Ford dealer down the street, Plaza Ford, and I ordered a brand new GT350 driver side axle. And you have to make sure you tell them driver side, because yes, they are different. Change that, and yeah, the shop said in case you don't have any wheel hop, you should be good. Nothing should break. And I also, over the years of racing, I figured I might try Hoosier tires instead of the Mickey Thompson ET Street R, which is also a very good tire. But with the converter and everything we added to the transmission and launching this car at a lot higher RPM, everyone, NA guys, recommended Hoosier. It's a lot softer of a compound. It is a lot easier on the drivetrain, I'm going to say. With the ET Street R, and some 10-speed guys might be watching this, and obviously you guys know if you're running an ET Street R tire, it is a very sticky and aggressive tire, especially on the road and it's hot. I'm going to tell y'all this, when this car was still NA, obviously it's still NA, I don't even know why I said it like that, complete idiot, but when it was on the ET Street R and it would shift against another car when we're racing, I swear to God, we would jump out at least a half a car every time, which is good. But with the Hoosier, you can still jump out, but it will have like a little slippage. You guys might be wondering why. It's a lot easier on the drivetrain. It's a lot easier on the rear. It's a lot easier on the axles. You just want a little bit of give in a sense. And obviously if you're a stick car too and you're watching this, Hoosier's a better tire to go with. Don't go with the R. You'll absolutely snap the shit out of your drivetrain. Let me get on my Harley 1 second because I'm getting a little tired standing around. I wanted to talk about, before I forget to mention, is the maintenance for these, for the 10 speeds and stuff. You guys are like, I get DMs all the time. I've gotten probably a freaking 1,000+ of them of guys messaging me, Jake, when do you change your transmission fluid? When do you do this? When do you do that? Granted, it all depends how you drive it, but if you guys are racing your car and it's really only for like fun and you're hard on the car and you're beating it, change your transmission fluid often. It's a little pricey, but if you want like the price that put it this way, let me put it this way for you guys. The price of the transmission fluid is a lot cheaper than buying a whole new transmission. Ford recommends like 100,000 miles, 80,000 miles, 75,000 miles. It's always stupid high. Well, use your brain a little bit and really think, why would a manufacturer that produces this transmission, that makes these cars, why would they put the mileage so high? Maybe because they want it to fail. Literally, they want it to fail. They told me on my EcoBoost F-150, change your oil every 10,000 miles on a turbo vehicle. I don't think a lot of you guys understand that. You're just asking your engine to die. You're just asking, like, it's just not good. It's just not good. They want parts. They want it to fail. Like, I read an article the other day, General Motors, known as Chevrolet, they make more money off repairs on the vehicle, maintenancing, parts. They make more money off that than actually selling the vehicle itself. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're like building these cars, racing these cars, and you're like, oh, it's a piece of crap, blah, blah, blah. Well, you didn't maintenance it properly. Like, I get that all the time. Like, a kid came up to me and a car had like 60-some thousand miles on it. It was boosted. Car looked kind of ragged. Like, it was beat. Like, it genuinely looked beat. Like, the car didn't look like it was well taken care of. Like, my car looks like a show car. I can clean this thing up and probably win a freaking trophy. But I don't like doing that. I like racing. But besides the point, if you want to race it, you want stuff to last, you have to maintenance these cars extremely well. Transmission at 18,000 miles of nothing but racing, 1,000+ races, has received 3 transmission fluids. We did it after Pocono Raceway, which was pretty crazy because that day the car got like lots and lots and lots of attention. This car was getting higher mile an hour than boosted cars. There was C7Z06s that were with the stock blower that were like low 700s. This car was doing more mile an hour than them. I raced a Chevy SS, G8s, other Mustangs that were boosted. This car put down 141 miles an hour, and that was like not in its final form right now. I do want to take it back to Pocono Raceway and see if we can get it like closer to the 150 range. I think we will. But I don't know how we'll do with the new converter and stuff like that. But for the converter setup, I am running obviously a Circle D 3200 stall converter, which obviously helps bring down your 60 foot. And the 60 foot really is like what makes this car a 10-second car. Helps you get out of the hole a whole lot faster. And my best RPM like launching this car with the 2-step and everything, I'll show you guys the box 2 that Revolution did, was 3,100 RPMs, and car left like an absolute freaking animal. If I still have the clip of it on my laptop, I'll throw it in this video right now, but if I don't, you're still watching it. So this was pretty much one of the final pieces to the puzzle that I actually remembered. You see all these little extra wires that are tapped into the coil packs everywhere? Well, let me show you this little thingamajig we got hidden up over here, and I will show you how it works. So this is a 2-step box right over here. You can adjust your RPMs. This is your hundreds, and this is your thousands. Actually, yes, I'm right. Okay, I got a little confused for a second. I literally drew a blank. Yes, thousands, and I always set it at 3,000 because that one hasn't moved, and this one's RPM. So I did have it set to 3,300 when I was racing this guy from a dig. Turned it all the way up just to see, and of course, it pushed through the line. Couldn't hold it, and it just pushed right through, so we red lighted and then lost that race. But now, it's staying at 3,100 because that was my fastest pass, 10.8, and you can see how they wired it in. All nice and perfect. And I'll show you guys inside the car. So when we're drag racing this, you obviously do your burnout like normal and everything. And then when it comes time to launching this thing, we have a arm switch. This thing, I freaking love it. So right down here, kind of hidden, you can see right down there, that little switch right there, we pull up to the line, and every time I drag race the car, boom, turn that thing on. And as soon as I get to the line, this might help you guys out too, pump your brakes really hard. It just works. Another guy that races told me to do that, pump the shit out of them. I guess it like helps the brakes stay locked or whatever, or doesn't push it through the line. I don't really know what it does, but I really like pushed them, pumped the shit out of them, and it worked. That was when I was able to get my best 60 foot ever with this car, and I freaking love it. So yeah, that is a pretty cool thing we did. I'm gonna try to keep that with the turbo setup. I think that's gonna be super, super sick in the long run, but I love this car. It is a freaking unit, and that is pretty much the full breakdown of everything we got going on with Apollo. Don't think I missed anything. This was kind of a long video of talking about the parts and everything maintenance-wise. Obviously, I wanted to mention too, oil, I run Ford Motorcraft 5W50. I literally have the next oil change from Apollo sitting right over here, and I'll show you guys everything. Literally everything. Full synthetic Ford Motorcraft oil, and this shit got very expensive. I've been running this since day one, and I'll tell you one thing, I know this works because when the shop did the oil pump gears and they did everything for me, they literally said like, bro, your oil pump gears and everything, like the whole housing of the oil pump looked good. Like it really looked like the car's never been raced. It looked like just like very, very minimal wear and tear. So SAE 5W50 full synthetic motor oil from Ford. Get it right at your local Ford dealer. Some people run Pennzoil. I know Chuck does. There's different types of oil, but I know for a fact, I've tested it, prove it works. And you guys, oh, why would you run 550? All the race cars really run 550. It's just a little thicker of a blend. And they're like, oh, some people were like, oh, you're going to mess up the tolerances of the motor. Because when I mentioned it, when I first got the car, I'm going to be running 550. Everyone's like, you're going to blow your motor within 1,000 miles, couple hundred miles. You're messing up the tolerances of the motor. What now, bro? Motor ain't blown. How you feeling, old man? Old man was chirping me in the comment section. You're gonna blow your motor. This young kid doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, unfortunately I do.